Hi, you've probably heard about oud. In today's world of perfumery, there is an undeniable mania surrounding this very rare and beautiful ingredient. There are many fragrances that contain it nowadays, but we Westerners weren't always familiar with it. It took one outstanding release back in 2002 to initiate the Western love affair with this ingredient. It radically changed the course of masculine perfumery and took us from a fresh, sporty register to a more dark and sensual one. M7 by Yves Saint Laurent is probably the most magnetic and quietly commanding fragrance that I know for men. And in this video, I'm going to go into detail about it. And you ladies may want to stick around to hear what it can do for you. So in 2002, Tom Ford was the creative director at Yves Saint Laurent. And although he wasn't very happy in this position, he produced what I consider some of his most influential work. Together with the famous perfumers Alberto Morillas and Jacques Cavalier, they introduced oud to the Western palate. Now, oud has been used and revered for centuries in Middle Eastern culture. It really is at the heart of their perfume history. But in the West, perfumers tended to shy away from its pungent, wild character. If you're interested, I'm going to link an essay in the description box. It'll give you a better sense of how monumental the culture surrounding oud is. And it'll also give you a sense of how rare and how varied the oils really are. So to accompany this very novel and culturally shocking new fragrance, Yves Saint Laurent launched a very provocative marketing campaign. I'm not going to share the pictures here. YouTube will ban me, but you can Google them yourself. In this picture, you have the exquisite male model Samuel de Kubert reclining nonchalantly, completely in the nude. Now, this kind of nudity was commonplace in classical antiquity, but in mainstream advertising, it was extremely controversial and did a good job of proclaiming a new direction in male sensuality, one that is much more confident in its primal expression. So the bottle too presented itself as brooding and sensual with its rich brown coloring, and unfortunately at some point the fragrance got reformulated and rebottled, and it now looks like this. It's in a square bottle. It's actually one in a series by the house. I'm not sure why these ones have been distinguished from the rest, but I think that the design really makes reference to modernist art movements that Yves Saint Laurent was passionate about, in particular de Stijl. And the name M7, I've done some research. I'm not really convinced by the outcome, but apparently it just makes reference to it being the 7th fragrance for men by the house. Personally, I like to conjure something more creative. So let's talk about the composition a bit. I would classify this as an ambery wood fragrance, a rich ambery wood fragrance with herbal aromatic touches. It opens with a very velvety mandarin orange and a brisk rosemary note that is dynamic and robust. It's very masculine. And then I get something dry, like maybe papyrus, or something feathery like sage. And that rests upon an opulent heart, and that heart is like a medley of precious woods, and at the heart of it there's this amazing oud that is very earthy and very full. It's a beautiful, rich oud. It's not barnyardy like oud can sometimes be. It's quite a dignified oud, and around it it's enveloped with a very creamy sandalwood. I get a lot of sandalwood. It's not listed, but I really detect it. And I also feel like there's some vetiver. It gives that like beautiful hazy woody feel. When I lived on the island of Reunion, the markets had these heaps of fragrant little bundles of dried vetiver that people use a lot over there. They put it in their wardrobes to scent their clothing, and it has such a dreamy, hazy feel. Vetiver can also be green. It's not green here. It's just this hazy woody note that is so lovely. It's very enveloping. And then I get something that is medicinal and sweet. It's just this fluttering of it. It's not too in your face, but almost minty sometimes. And I kind of put it down to a wood called Palo Santo. Palo Santo has that medicinal camphorous sweetness. Palo Santo is a very interesting wood. It comes from South America, and it's sacred there. It's used in rituals and burnt like an incense, and it's got a very distinct sweetness to it. And I really detect it here. Either that, or it's maybe Artemisia, or also known as wormwood, that has that medicinal bittersweet quality, but it's very alluring. You kind of want to go in for a deeper sniff. And in the dry down, it kind of almost becomes like, I hate to say this, but like Tic Tacs. But that's kind of disguised and buried in this beautiful, opulent, woody composition. I also get a note of rose, and now it's not your typical pastel kind of rose. This is a wild, animalic rose, very masculine, and it gives it a lovely lift and refinement to the composition. It doesn't make the composition floral in any way, so if you shy away from floral compositions, don't be afraid. And now all of that rests upon a very dark and heavy base, and the base is mostly myrrh, and myrrh is a resin that is leathery, bittersweet. It definitely gives a masculine darkness to this fragrance, and I get patchouli, which is also quite earthy and pungent. And I get what I think is cistus or labdanum. That's a note that comes from a sort of a creeping plant that grows in arid regions like in Spain, and it's harvested, and a viscous liquid is extracted from it, and it's got a very ambery, warm tone to it, and it's absolutely beautiful in this composition. It's very enveloping, and yes, it's enveloping and warm, very beautiful. And then there is the notorious note of musk. Now, musk has been known forever to give an erotic lift to a fragrance, and it definitely does this in this fragrance. It's extremely seductive, and when my husband wears this fragrance, I trail around after him in the house, and yes, it's completely hypnotizing. So on to my favorite part of the video. Who is this fragrance for? This is a fragrance for someone who strongly inhabits his physicality as a man and who has quiet confidence in his sex appeal. It is a dark, refined and sensual fragrance and wears very elegant, so it certainly mustn't be worn to a sporting event or a barbecue. For these characteristics, I'd say that this fragrance isn't best suited for someone who's very young or for someone who insists on navigating adulthood in their flip-flops. I, as a woman, love to wear this fragrance, especially to sophisticated evening events, and I like to pair it with a sexy blazer or some other form of chic power dressing. This fragrance is best suited for evenings or cooler weather, and it has tragically been discontinued. In South Africa, you still find quite a few bottles in stores, but that is not going to last. So I urge you to grab one while you can. For those of you who are abroad, I will post a link to places you can get some online. Just a note, there is a flanker to this fragrance called M7 Oud Absolu. It's got a black bottom half of the bottle. That's a flanker. It's not the same. I recommend this one. A quick word about the quality and performance. This is a designer fragrance, and you kind of expect it to behave like a designer fragrance, but it's quite shocking really how unlike a designer fragrance it is. It really, just the smell of it strikes one as a niche fragrance, and the reason I say that is because the juice itself is so refined and rich and complex smelling. It has a beautiful evolution. Designer fragrances are often quite two-dimensional and they don't evolve. This, on the other hand, has a beautiful evolution. It really is articulated, and you get different facets expressing themselves at different stages. It's very rich, even though it's an eau de toilette concentration. It does not project beast mode. It does not fill a room, but it leaves a consistent and very alluring trail. It projects about 1 meter, I'd say, around the wearer. And that lasts about 1 to 2 hours. And then it settles to a more intimate fragrance. And yeah, it sort of stays as this rich, warm cocoon around you for, I'd say, about 6 to 8 hours. And then it just trails off very sweetly, like a sweet, minty trail off that quietly disappears after about 8 hours. It's a really beautiful scent, and I'd say the quality is great. The evolution to me hints at the quality and the fact that there are probably a lot of naturals in it. It's usually a marker for that. So I'd say this is an exceptional designer. If you are in the market but you have a limited budget, this is absolutely one to have. So I hope you found this video inspiring. It's tragic how these masterpieces get discontinued, but like many creations that are way ahead of their time, M7 went over people's heads back in 2002 and was a commercial flop. It is only today, when darker, more sensual fragrances are popular, that people are giving this fragrance the recognition that it's due. So if you enjoyed this video, please help me, give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and share. It really, really helps me grow my channel. This is a passion project of mine, and any input is very welcome. I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks again. Bye.